Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm Rachel O'Leary, and today we're out in my yard because I wanted to give you a 1-year update on my DIY Bradley Sink Bog Garden. Now, I took you guys along from building the irrigation system for this garden, to making my own soil, to planting, some of the issues I ran into with birds stealing plants, as well as overwintering it and then opening it up again this spring. And I have to tell you, this whole garden was a complete experiment. I had a few things working against me. One, this bog is relatively shallow, and most of the carnivorous plants, the temperate ones that I work with, are used to really deep, cool soil, and I was a bit concerned that this bog was going to stay way too warm for the plants to thrive, as well as not be able to hold enough water to really not be labor intensive. However, I'm super happy to report it is a raging success. So let's take a look at some of the plants and where it stands right now, still pretty early in the season. I'll be sure to continue to update you guys about this garden, as well as the succulent garden that's above it, in upcoming videos, but I wanted to do a dedicated one today because it looks so pretty. Let's take a look. So this is how the bog garden is looking this spring. You can see that a lot of the Sarracenias, or the pitcher plants, are blooming like mad. And we'll take a closer look at those flowers in just a minute. There's still quite a few that have yet to open. But you can see that the pitcher growth has really taken off, and it's just, this garden gives me so much absolute joy that it's unbelievable. I have plants propagating, plants flowering, things spreading, and just about everything I've put in here has done really amazing. Now again, this is a temperate bog, meaning most of these plants are from North America, and they do well in my winters here with just a little bit of support. If you've been watching the channel, you know that I do cover them with pine straw and winter cloth for the winter, and everything bounces back really well. You know, again, I wasn't really sure how well this would do long term, especially with how shallow it is for overwintering, but I think that we can all agree that all of these flowers are a pretty good sign. I just cannot get over how beautiful they are, and just the range of colors that we see in the various flowers. It's really pretty impressive, and that pitcher there is absolutely massive. You see these guys still have to open up. There's one open, but I would guess in another week or two this whole thing is going to be just full of flowers. The flowers are pretty decently long-lived as well, so you get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And unlike with some other carnivorous plants, I let them flower. I do not remove these flowers, whereas with something like my Venus flytrap here that does have a flower spike starting, I will remove that flower, just because that way more energy will go to the development of those traps. Though out in a bog garden, that's not as big of a deal. But we can see all different shapes and sizes. This is a purpurea. It has had insane growth. Now those little trumpet-shaped leaves will get darker with time. Next door is another purpurea type. Then we have some bug bat. And then I have a whole stand of sundew here that's doing really amazing. This is a filiformis type. And then we have some spatulata. And then there's some binata. Now this one I actually kept indoors over the winter. It's not a temperate. It needs things to stay a bit warmer. But I moved it out for this summer, just for it to get some size on it. Here this spring I added a little Bog Violet, and they're supposed to creep like strawberries and really cover well. I thought that they would be a really pretty low-lying addition to the bog to help with the soil integrity. Now I do have live moss all over the surface of the bog, from natives that I've collected that do well in really wet environments, to the sphagnum moss. I also planted a bog orchid, which is growing slowly, but it's coming along. And again, it's important with carnivorous plants that they have a completely inert soil. It has to be very nutritionally depleted because all of their nutrition comes from the bugs that they eat. And if we take a really close look, this guy, this sundew, you can see that there are bugs just all over it. They do a really great job. The particular soil for this garden is a mix of soaked peat and blasting sand. And it provides a lot of support to the plant and holds moisture well. You can see how good this Venus flytrap is looking. There's another little sundew species here that I thought I had killed, but it came back nicely. Then we have some Scarlet Bell. We have a few Scarlet Bells in the garden. That's a really hardy variety that I've shown you guys as well in my floating planters in my ponds. This garden is watered with captured rainwater. I have a big reservoir that I've set up to collect rainwater from the gutters of my greenhouse. It's important to water carnivorous plants with either distilled RO or rainwater, as if it has too much nutrient content or too high of a TDS, it will cause the plants to die. I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make, is the wrong soil and the wrong water. The PVC lattice goes beneath this entire garden, and it's all drilled with holes, so I simply pour water into this funnel as needed that goes down into the lattice and saturates all the plants from the bottom up, which is really, really great for these guys. And honestly, this spring I haven't had to water it once with all the rain we've had, but this summer I likely will. Last summer I had to water it about twice a week, and it took maybe 3 gallons of water to keep things going. So really not very labor intensive for the payoff I'm getting here this year. Let me know what you guys think. Have any of you guys started a bog at all? I think it's important to mention that a lot of these plants are pretty critically threatened in the wild. So for me, it's a really rewarding way to garden, to maintain some species that are threatened and really get the benefits of all the pest control that they offer. I mean, it's absolutely incredible to see how many bugs they eat. I left the old pitcher growth on a lot of the plants. Anything that was green, I left. Anything that was dead, I cut off, but I left those pitchers full of the old bugs because they're still feeding the plants. I know a lot of people recommend cutting them the whole way back in the winter, but I did not do that, and it seems to have worked out well for me because everything is looking awesome. I swear this plant here grows like 6 inches a day. Really, really, really incredible. So that is my little DIY Bradley Sink Bog Garden. It is just over a year old, and I could not be happier with it. If you guys like this content, give the video a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments section how your gardens are coming along, and if you want to tag me on Instagram in any of your summer tubbing or gardening efforts, I would love to see what you're doing. As always, thanks for your continued support.